All right, so that was my brief and long introduction. So I would like to turn now to the panelists with me, and I want to start with Drikie. And Drikie, firstly, I want to ask you to tell us a little bit more about yourself and your work as a start. Have you got your...
Testing.
Yes.
My name is Drikie Atherstone. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of two. I'm a Christian. I'm a prayer warrior, and that's where I met you. We invited you to come speak to our prayer group because this is one of our major concerns. I'm a parent coach, and I also have some experience in trauma therapy of children that's in foster care that had these things happening to them, and that is my big concern, that those children will also be in class hearing this, and it connects to their trauma and how it will play out in their lives and what decisions they may make because it's presented as normative. So I'm firstly just so concerned for the children that's vulnerable and susceptible of direction in their lives, wanting, they have a need, and the adults that's around them don't know how to fulfill that need in a healthy way.
All right, so getting into parents and counsellors and even therapists' concern about CSE at schools, what are the kind of things that you've heard in your interactions?
Ryan, I've asked a number of therapists and parents to comment on the material, and I've listed their answers. So some parents do not trust the authority of schools over their children anymore, and they really do not want to release their child into a place that they don't think is safe anymore. There are parents that state that the material is not biblical, and they would like assurance that children have the choice to be excused and not penalized when they are walking out of the class. Some parents are angered that this radical thinking is introduced to their children, especially because their brains aren't fully developed yet. Many parents say that they know their children best and they would like the responsibility of teaching them basic sexual information. I've also heard concerns that the suggested protocol limits the rights of parents. If a child shares information, a parent can't reach out past a specific point. Involved parents want to be mindful of the material their children shared and their children are exposed to at school. They realize that they will be the responsible person once it plays out at home or anywhere else. Parents ask if the presenters are equipped, mature and sensitive enough to deal with reactions that the information might provoke. I quote some other questions. Will my child be free to relate to their peers without being stigmatized? Relationships are important and they are deprived of basic friendships because of stigmatization. Will the information be based on feelings or the bigger population on objective morality? Will my child feel safe enough to have a different opinion? Will the adults give freedom of speech and allow a healthy debate whilst maintaining control and respect? A family program manager stated there is something like momentum in information. So once you've introduced some idea, it creates movement, and the movement creates thinking and creates action, and that always has consequences. Some trauma therapists have the following concerns. The blunt, radical, uncensored information will weaken the vulnerable. It is proven that underprivileged socioeconomic groups get stuck in a rut of problems, especially having to do with sexuality. The group actually needs counselling and restoration and meeting their needs, instead of more graphical information. A traumatized child's brain has been changed. The emotional pathways to cortisol satisfaction have been formed. If we do not offer the children what they really need, they will reinforce these pathways by stuff and activities that's suggested by CSE. In the book A Student's Brain and Trauma of Jennifer Gunn, I've learned that children cannot learn if they're emotionally traumatized. It's important to consider that the teachers will also be talking to children that are molested, raped, bullied, hungry, troubled, insecure, adopted, rejected, separated from their parents. And all of these children will listen to information different. A teacher cannot possibly accommodate and adequately address all of those needs. I found a study in sexual abuse specialist Patricia Olney-Murphy, and she explained that an abused, traumatized child remain in fight or flight mode, unable to learn because of intrusive thoughts, dissociation, flashbacks, and overactive limbic system. So these effects will be permanent in their brain. Now imagining learning, think about everything that happened to you. So it's alarming that teachers have that responsibility, and it's been taken away from parents.
All right, that is quite concerning. What are some of the consequences parents have had to deal with already due to CSE being taught at school?
Ryan, I think we'll be hearing of more consequences if we can trace it back to CSE, if we look at children's behaviour. But I've listed some that parents have shared with me directly and some that I've observed. So mothers shared that her child often comes home crying, not wanting to know the things that they were told at school. A few parents said that their children are being called names if they have good friends of a specific gender, or if they have opposite friends or gender, of the opposite gender. Everything is being judged, and there is very little grace for just growing up, playing. Children are exploring the things that they're exposed to in class, so not knowing how it can hurt them emotionally or physically. I've recently seen a questionnaire directed to a grade 9 pupil, and it can be compared to a script of a porn movie that they are asked to comment on. Now, the parent could answer questions it provoked to and address it calmly, but what about those children that does not have support or open conversations at home? Unfortunately, some children have tried to commit suicide, often being so embarrassed and harmed when they try to execute what they were taught in class. The effect of the curriculum on traumatized children delays their healing, their understanding, or meeting their needs. Trauma is emotional response to a terrible event, and it depends on individuals to determine what characterizes terrible. So it can be minute. Children that have been molested, raped, emotionally bullied, and traumatized physically does not hear the intended message, but will hear messages that can set them back. Trauma and stress can alter a young person's brain function, impact learning, causing behavioral problems, and ignite a cycle of behaviors, as proven by a doctor that I follow, Debbie Grebenik, and she studies foster children. She works with foster children.
Thank you, Drikie. I think a last question for you is around the impact of CSE material on the parent-child relationship. Is it something that interferes with that relationship?
I read the implementation toolkit, and they actually state that they want parents involved, but I've not been asked to request on anything. So although that's a mission statement, I think it's interfering by already bypassing their value statement. So if they can bypass parents in this way, what are they really educating children in? I think it becomes an intrusion in families as it indoctrinates our children with a postmodern worldview. It can create the logic that the school is a better place of learning and parenting than what the home is. And it can bring a division between generations in the long run. Children might lose respect for adults or authority figures, seeing them as sexual beings and have no value or meaning. CSE fails to recognize the rights of parents to teach their children their own values and their beliefs. The material will move insecure children away from relationship with their caregivers, and a free-for-all source of information will be their parent. I'm afraid that not all of these have the goal of what is the best interest of the child. If a child is convinced and starts believing that their parents have not been honest with them, I can imagine that it can destroy the trust between parents and children. Trust is the first important building block of children's lives, and it might bring separation between them in an immature way, in leaving children alone, finding answers to life-altering questions. Mistrust and shame, badly handled, create secrecy. And I'm very concerned about these, that we won't find out. In closing, Mariah, my suggestion would be to educate the caregivers and bring strength and healing to families, to teach children how to deal with trauma and conflict resolution in school, and how to build their confidence and cope in this world. It is proven even by secular studies that there is no improvement in happiness after following the path suggested by CSE.
Thank you so much, Drikie. Appreciate the parents' concerns, and I think what is helpful is to also hear from actual parents' responses. People that Drikie has in her network and that she engages with. For our next segment, we're going to listen to an interview, or look at an interview that I did with Professor Nicola de Jager, and we're going to go straight into this.